this content is for kids.
It's not for kids.
Isn't that what I said?
No, it's not for kids. If you are 13 years or younger, this is not for you. Do I have to kill somebody in order to actually make that point across?
No, man, you don't have to kill
Wait
no
a
one.
second.
Oh, no.
We return to our planet. The High Court may well sentence you to torture.
He likes movies, we like movies. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. SeptumSin versus the world. I'd buy that for $1.
Greetings! You're watching SeptumSin versus the World. I'm SeptumSin. And you're watching another film, Psychoanalysis. And since I'm not really allowed to use clips for this particular video, I don't care what you have to say. It makes no difference anyway. Whatever it is, I'm against it. No matter who it is or who commenced it, I'm against it. Yes, I believe that is the theme of our film Psychoanalysis. Now, I'm filming this right after the Craiglon 3 episode. Now, that might not be the episode number that we're going off of, but I assure you that that is going to be the theme from here on out. So what do we got today? We got something special today, because yours truly may very well be a Blu-ray extra. And why? Because said person is going to be helping to create said Blu-ray. Yes, not a bootleg, though I may have dabbled in the past, but a legit official release Blu-ray of a film. This film is a film by our friend Kyle Rappaport. Now, you're probably seeing this as a part of our ramp-up to try and get you interested in the release. So, what is the movie, you might ask? Well, that is the Shackled Demon Project. So, formerly the Legend of the Shackled Demon, this was a film created by Kyle Rappaport and his friend Doug. And this is a film about two individuals who are in this house, but it might be haunted. You see, Doug has been seeing some goings-on lately, and he's invited his friend over in order to try and get a documentary filmed so that they can record the incidents and become spectral famous. Famous like the Ghostbusters, or I don't know, Donnie Darko. I don't cater in famous people, but this is a preview of what you, if you are one of those lucky few to get this limited run release, are going to get. This is actually a example cover. This is not the final, and I will tell you the reason why is because right now we are still in that production stage. I have the original, actually I have the final version already ready to go, but then my printer died. So, sometime around June-ish, we should probably already have done this by the time you see this video. We will have gotten all of this done, a new cover out. Now this is how it is going to look on the front. This has not changed. On the side, you got the Shackled Demon Project. You're going to have the Anhedenia Filmz logo, and the, what do they call it? Splatterhouse Productions logo. On the back, you'll have those two down here, and then you'll have my logo in between. It's going to be two different pictures. Well, this one's going to stay the same, but this one's going to be different. And the rest of it's about the same. So let's talk about what's involved in this. I admit, I'm actually excited because I get to talk about special features. Yes, and I'm putting these special features on. This film may very well make the cut to be a special feature, should Kyle allow it, of course.
This is bullshit.
So it's going to be special. So, with yours truly, you're going to have two trailers, a Doug trailer and a Kyle trailer. You're going to have a commentary by the two film creators. You're going to have interviews, outtakes, and a short film called Legend of an Old-Time Friend. So that's a lot of special features for something like this. All on one Blu-ray. So, very interesting. I am looking forward to this release. My hope is that they are going to be on SRS Sub Rosa with the hopes that there's going to be also a giveaway beforehand. I'm hoping to beat the giveaway with this video. So when I know that's going to happen, I'm probably going to have this on. So you're going to get that chance to get a hold of this. So, on with the review. So how can one such as myself analyze a film honestly when I'm so deep into its production? Well, to answer that, that's why I wonder whether this is going to make it into the final production. If it doesn't, that's alright. It will, however, be going up on YouTube. So, there are a lot of good and a lot of bads here. So this was done back in 2009 originally. And the writing elements of this are pretty standard. You can tell that there are some big pulls from Paranormal Activity and the Blair Witch Project. Big pulls. I know that it was said that it was more Paranormal Activity, but to me it felt a lot more Blair Witch. A little more exciting than Blair Witch. I think the pacing was much better than either of those films. Now, there are a couple of story hitches, and a lot of that I think is due to a lot of ad-libbing. But we'll talk about that, well, right now. The acting is okay overall. We're talking about two, what I believe would be teenagers at this point, doing a film, a found footage film, with very little budget, and nothing but their wits to guide them home. Well, that's actually not bad if you think about it. There's a little bit of overacting. I do feel like the yelling gets a bit over the top in some areas, a little bit under in others. And it's a little bit repetitive. I mean, it's usually the same thing when they're going at it. But if you're not wearing headphones, you're fine. It's actually not a bad thing. They do a decent enough job. I've watched a lot of B cinema. A lot of B cinema. And I would definitely hold the acting in this above, say, maybe not necessarily above the Dante's Shadow of Sin, but I'd say above a lot of the Craiglon incident acting. So that's pretty good. Not all of it, because Craiglon was all over the place. This is pretty consistent. The acting is only with two people, so you really what you see is what you get. But let's talk about how this shines, which is in its production design. Let's talk about some of the low end of the production. The camera movement. oh my gosh, you could get motion sick. That is a problem with a lot of these found footage films, and even more so with this. I feel like the camera moved way too much in this particular one. But that said, when you add in that and the issues with the lighting, because the issues with the lighting do distort the quality of the picture, a lot of dark and then going to light, a lot of that imbalance. But let's take those two and move them to the side, because it's outweighed by the amazing monster makeup and effects. Okay, not that one, but the rest of them are quite spectacular. When you're talking the kind of people that are putting this together, they put the Polonias to shame in some areas. I was quite impressed with it. Some of the blood effects, some of the gore, and the monster masks are freaking cool. I would like to hope that Doug, if he hasn't, gets some sort of job doing some of this stuff, if that's what he likes to do. For all I know, he likes accounting, and that's his passion. But you really got to do well to create such vivid monsters. And Kyle performs as some of these monsters and does a good job doing that. So, again, very fun, very cool, and worth it. I kind of wish this was shot on video instead of digital, because if this was shot on video, I would say this would be an excellent shot on video film. When I compare this to other films in that franchise, this stands, even with most of them, above some others. Now, music. Not a lot of music in it. Some found music. And the ending theme I find genuinely haunting. They have sort of an organ quality, very slow, very creepy. It plays well over the credits. I liked it so much that I added it to the menu. So when you're pulling up the Blu-ray of this film, you're going to hear that soundtrack right off the bat when you get to the menu. Really good. So let's do our final thoughts. This is a fairly solid found footage film. It fits into that niche very well. Though some of the acting and camera issues pull it down a smidge, the story still flows pretty quickly. Overall, I'd say this is a good film and a worthwhile buy if you like this sort of film. If you're a huge found footage film fan, you like things like Evil Things, what was it? Blair Witch, even. I would say this is a good film to fall into. With that being said, we're going to take a break. But before I do, let's talk film analysis. For those of you new to here, our film analysis goes in depth. I hit this film bit by bit, and I talk about it as I go. If you don't want spoilers, go watch the film. If this is an extra on the Blu-ray, why are you watching this first? Go watch the film, come back to me, and then we'll talk. Now, if you don't care for spoilers, if you want this film outlined for you before you watch it, you might be one of those people. I know Jake is one of those people. Then, yeah, you can join me when I get back. But me, I'm going to have myself a little bit of a tea break. I'll see you a little bit later. Oh, God. Oh. You're here. Well, what do you want? Film analysis? Who ordered that? Okay. Well, the premise of the Evil Bong film... What? Shackled Demon? Who would watch that? I would. Oh. I guess I am involved with it. Yeah, I guess I can put this down and give you a little bit of insight into the film. Maybe I took too much of a break. I'll let you in a little secret. This ain't water. It's Powerade. Alright, let's get into the analysis of this film. So the first section of the film, we get to see the ghost at work. The apartment is dark. You can kind of see how in the dark lit, it's a bit blurry because of the darkness, but it does get the point across. You kind of get a little bit of mask movement, a tug of the blanket. It does its job. Because right after that, Doug is introducing what's going on. He tells us about all of these happenings going on in the apartment, house, whatever. And he's brought his friend Kyle along to try and record these incidents. So, the first thing that happens, they kind of check downstairs. They heard a little bit of movement. His masks were moved because he's preparing for Halloween. Oh my God. His parents must be very lenient to allow him to prepare the house for Halloween like that. That is a lot. Well, they must really love Halloween over there. They go downstairs, they examine it, and that basement room, oh my gosh, I'm guessing they filmed a lot of stuff down there. They have it prepared, they have a little spray paint on there, and he goes to this door, it's got some chains on it, and they have a little effect where the chain just falls. And again, boom, over the top scares. And of course, we have this little angle where the little board, and this door goes up from the basement to the yard. It just pushes up. So, a little bit of a jump scare. Again, these movies try to start slow. And this one kind of has an up and down way of going about it. Because really, we go from that to them looking at the window out of the front door, and we see this creepy face mask, which, by the way, I've done an intentionally blurry picture of for the menu. So you too can be a little bit creeped out by it. And that mask is just looking right into there and then disappears straight up. That's kind of it for the first day. And they explain it by saying the camera's broken or the camera had an issue. And then he talks about, well, it's kind of like the effects, the monster stuff is not as bad with the masks or whatever when they're not filming it. I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, why are you doing it? But it makes perfect sense for one of these found footage movies. And that's something that I see a lot from a Paranormal Activity. Because, again, the guy knows he's antagonizing the demon. And what's he do? Continues to antagonize the demon. But we hit day 2. They kind of mention the chain thing again, the whole shackled demon concept that they're trying to run with. I feel like with the film, and I've listened to the commentary, that they've kind of had loose ideas, but they didn't really stick to one fully. They did manage to pull a narrative together rather well. They stick this in at the beginning to kind of introduce the concept of this shackled demon hearing the chains, and later kind of show that illustration with the demon kind of pent up or netted. they do that reasonably well. So they check out this shed out behind. It's during the daytime. And as they're looking at it, the window goes up. And Kyle does something that kind of helps mark his character for what he is. He's supposedly the more realistic-minded character, whereas Doug is more the, ooh, what's that noise character. Yeah. As it says in the meme, I'm white, but I'm not, ooh, what's that noise, white. But Kyle is just like, nope, I ain't here, I'm done. And he goes out, goes right back into the house. Meanwhile, Doug is like, I'm going to check that stuff out. And he goes right in there into the shed, and it's empty. And I kind of liked how they had Kyle gone, because I believe, according to the commentary, Kyle was in the suit of the monster. And through the screen, the monster had a very rotted corpse-like appearance, very white, pale. And you even had like a cut in between where Kyle is yelling, you know, I don't want to look, like that, just to kind of insert it, just to say, no, he's not there in the suit. He's over here. Wasn't necessarily needed, but a nice touch. So they go back inside after this, and one of the things I have a problem with is they had that excellent reaction with the monster there, and they're all kind of like tense, and then they hear breaking glass, essentially. That's the sound effect, is broken glass. They kind of just like barely, it's like, oh, what's that?
Like, I want just to show people that there are ghosts in this world. What was that? Did you hear that? I just heard that.
I'm like, really? That's what you have the toned down reaction for. But as they're thinking about investigating it, they hear this music, this strange music, which I found is kind of copyrighted, but let's just hope it slips by. We're only doing 25 right now, and we're hoping to get more. We're hoping to just move this as a good thing. And they decide to, of course, investigate this by going down the stairs. I find it kind of odd that the music is kind of loud upstairs and then gets softer as they go downstairs, supposedly towards it. But they see this mask, and again, very good job editing the mask, doing like the kitchen knives through the mask on that door as a warning. Again, these ghosts try to warn them off, and then they decide they haven't warned them off, then they decide we're going to screw with them, we're going to take them out. So, they find this recorder. Music does get louder as we get closer to that. They mix in some moans and stuff with it, and then eventually they shut it off. So, when they turn around, because the lights are off in the basement at the time, and they get the lights on, they notice that the mask on the doors is gone. Gone. Not here anymore. Yeah. Scary. But they go back upstairs, and they decide to play the tape. Now, I'm gonna admit, this almost comes across as comical to me. When the guys doing, I burst out laughing. I'm sorry, I did. I did burst out laughing. They're freaking out about it. And the demon's coming across like some kind of pervert, like watching, like, hey little boy, I'm watching you. You know. And that's fine. Actually, I do enjoy that. It's a little levity, but it's probably not intentional. But it really helps to lighten it up a bit. But I did find that more comical than scary, I will admit. But it is kind of creepy that you have somebody downstairs recording something like that. And that's not the only time we get to deal with that. But the second time, it's much more serious. And we'll get to that in a little bit. Kyle again. Nope's out of this. I'm out of here. I can't live here anymore. I'm gone. I'm not quite sure about that line, but we'll roll with it. And darn it, Doug manages to convince him to stay. I don't know what it is about Doug's room. That comforter looks like it was really nice. I'm old. Us old people like to sleep. That is our enjoyment time. I sleep, I watch movies, I work. And unfortunately, I do more of the work and less of the sleep and even less of the watching the movies. But that comforter looked nice. You know, I could go and get... Okay. Let me finish this, then I'll go to bed. That's the way I'll do it, in that order. Though... Oh, no. I'm good. I am good. Okay. But like I say, he does stay. And kind of, there's this moment where I find it interesting. I just call it voyeur moment while he's just watching Kyle brush his teeth. But hey, he does the opposite of brushing his... Doug does the opposite of brushing his teeth because he's having Oreos and milk. I like Oreos and milk. No, keep on target. We're going to get this filmed. So, they kind of do pretty well. Now, you might have been watching this and ask for one other thing, which was at the part of night 2, before all this stuff with the basement and the recorder, they do try to watch a movie. I kind of wanted to backtrack to this because I thought about skipping it, but I should talk about that. Because Kyle, I don't know about Doug, but he had a pretty nice collection over there. But Kyle definitely is a movie collector. He's on a channel called Movie Buff 1. You should check it out if you haven't. And he does some excellent pickups. Just like me, he's got a fairly decent collection. And this is a good way of illustrating that. They had a 5 or 6 minute scene where they're just kind of watching Eaten Alive and they're talking about it. I tried to keep as much of it in as I could, but there's some copyright things that I really don't think we can skirt around, and watching the movie is just too much. So, unfortunately, that had to be cut out. But I think that I got the gist of it when they were talking about it. You could hear Doug's film knowledge going forth about Eaten Alive, about Tobe Hooper. A lot of the cool things there. I need to watch Eaten Alive again. It is a good movie. And just, one of those classics. Now, during the night, we hear this kind of from the attic, and we notice the lights on. So they go to investigate. And then the only thing, and again, Kyle's been pretty consistent with his character, but the one thing that's not consistent is here, where he's like, let's go investigate the attic. You were the dude who was like, nope, let's get me out of here. Now you're wanting to go up into the attic. And then Doug, who's kind of afraid a lot of the time, is like, no, I'm going up in the attic. Which he does. He investigates, and he finds 2 things. That horrid smell and an older camera. Now, he leaves. There's not a lot of scares up there. I expected a jump scare. What I got was kind of more of a monster breathing on the back of the neck. Again, we kind of go a little bit from major scares and monsters to subtle scares. And you usually don't see them go back to subtle scares. Once Usually in these movies, once they go to major scares, they don't go back. But in here, they kind of do. They kind of go back and forth with between the subtle and the major. And this one's more of a subtle scare. So they go downstairs. This is when they decide to watch this. And I like the line, "Don't be afraid. It's on the screen. It won't hurt us." Now, Doug kind of changes his mind about whether it could be harmful or not, because you notice that this demon is actually filming them and himself, and it looks really cool on there where they're watching the film and you see the demon is kind of like held by this net, and I guess it illustrates the demon being shackled and trying to break free, taunting him. It's got a vibe similar to the tape recorder scene, but it does come across as creepy, whereas the tape recorder scene came across more as kind of funny. This one definitely came off with a much creepier vibe. They did a good job of filming it, so the effects of the suit look really good. And Kyle's like, "I'm going to call the police." I think that's a great thing to do, and they had the option to call the police, but this is not where they need to do it. Still, and Doug points this out, I don't know, they won't believe us, and they wouldn't at that point. But then it shows this, as they continue to watch it, they kind of see Doug being possessed by the monster. And that freaks Doug out to where he can't move. Kyle's like, we got to get out of here, we got to get out of here. And they do something that a lot of these movies they don't do. They got up and they left. They're like, screw this, we're gone. And that was great. They're just walking down the street. Now, I do feel like this scene takes a bit longer than it should. I really like the idea of leaving the house. And I also kind of like the subtlety that they kind of throw in there that several people have been moving out of the neighborhood or kind of disappearing from the neighborhood. I think if they had hinted a little bit harder at that, that might even be kind of, again, the addition of some lore. It does have a lot of interest to it. Is this demon actually going from house to house and killing people, possessing and killing people? Or is this one that's just been shackled here? I think there's a lot of good ideas here, but we don't always stick to just one. So they find out that they're not safe outside, as this kind of zombie thing with a brain in one hand, you got the mask and kind of got a bathrobe, it's kind of running after him. It doesn't sound as creepy as it looks. It looks pretty creepy. Matter of fact, to that point where I had wanted to show it in some, but they had this kind of music going on in the background for that scene, and I wasn't certain about the copyright level, so I decided against it. Plus I wanted to play some other music over the background of it. It still looks pretty cool. I like that. It kind of amps it up, and they run right back into the house. So the house is kind of torn up. And Doug kind of hears this demonic sound that he feels is like coming from the basement. But to me, I wonder if the sound he's hearing, because Kyle didn't hear it, is maybe the demon, again, in his head, trying to possess him again. But he kind of talks about, he plays with the idea of like maybe doing a microphone and asking the demon questions in the wall, and then decides instead he needs to lay down. So we get to follow Kyle a little bit. I do wish there was a little bit more with Kyle just being out there, but they kind of focus on him more towards this part in the end. Kyle is just kind of trying to deal with things, and you get this bloody hand, one of the few scares that's directed directly at Kyle, and he's like hoofing it. He goes to Doug, and he's just like panicking all the heck. They're both panicking, and they hear the shower on. And they find out that in the shower is a bunch of like body parts and so on. So again, I kind of switch it around and I think about it because the shower is actually after they find the body. Not the shower, sorry. The bloody hand, I think, is after they find the body parts. Because when Kyle goes back in Doug's room, Doug's somehow obsessed with cleaning it up. I love the body part stuff in the shower. I think it's really cool. I like the bloody hand thing. But the idea of cleaning up, this is when you call the police. You check to see if they're still there, and if they are, call the police. They might have questions for you, but that is definite evidence that something's going on. But yes, Doug goes there, and they're not there. So now we're in the end game. They venture into the basement together. Doug collapses, is possessed by the demon, and kills Kyle. I don't know what to think about this scene. I mean, Kyle has the same self-preservation skills as most of the characters in a horror film. He runs by the stairs, which are his means of escape, and then just kind of stands there pretending to run as he gets run through. Again, I feel for him, but my goodness. Run up the stairs, dude. He could, how I think I could have had this scene go would be he starts to run up the stairs, the demon like kind of hits him in the leg, knocks him down a bit, and then he stabs Kyle to death right there. Now they probably didn't have the resources with it, maybe they could have taken the bong and like something like that. I don't know, but again, this is a movie that's fairly old, so I give it that. Now, if I were to look at this, I think this could be remade. Maybe a second one, a Shackled Demon 2. Take this and run with it. Write an in-depth script. Give that Shackled Demon lore some legs and run with it. Talk about like having it there. Maybe Kyle comes back, but this time he's part of the demon, like he's like a resurrected zombie or something. Maybe like some new people take on the house. It would be kind of a cool thing. But of course, as we see the end, we get our obligatory, here's some pictures of them, and they were never seen again. And we play the music that I talked about in the original review. I love the music. It's very creepy. I don't mind listening to it as the credits are rolling. They're not long credits. And then you've got like a little outtakey thing at the very end of it for this particular cut. So, what do I think about the Shackled Demon project? This was a project done by two teenagers who really love horror films. You can tell it in how they act, what they do, and the effects that they make, and the decisions that they do, and all of the different plot elements. You can see a love for horror because you can see many different films on display in their acting, in their ad-libs, and how they go about it. From them talking about eaten alive to them simply getting the guts ripped out of them. The Shackled Demon project is a project worth your time. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, go to my channel, SeptumSin vs. the World. Click that like button, hit that subscribe, and share this video with others. If you haven't bought Shackled Demon Project and you like these type of found footage films, I think you could do worse than getting this little beauty. This is SeptumSin, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. You know what? Evie, we're going to have a little fun.